Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today I'm going to do another utility video. It's what I call a utility video, where I come across some issues that I've had in the past and a quick little fix that I found that works for me. I don't know whether it'll work for you or not. You may want to try it. And I want to show you that today. So come on in and let's get started. All right, so what I've run across in the past is I just buy limited hardware, the necessities, and I say limited, but I keep a pretty good variety. But I still run into sometimes when I'm making something. Let's take this white leather that I have here. It's pretty thin. I don't know how ounce wise. I don't know. I'm gonna guess maybe 3 ounce. It's pretty thin. But let's say I was gonna put a snap on this. So I get my punch. I punch my hole for my snap, and I put that on, and what I end up with, I don't know if you could see this, because I just buy the standard snaps. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, but see how high that post sticks up? If I try, at least this is what's happened to me in the past, and maybe you can give me some pointers in the comments of what you've done. But if I try to take my setter and set that snap down on there, what happens is I end up, this doesn't give me a good seat because it's so tall. That stud's so tall. So I've tried using my Dremel tool and just sanding that post down a little bit. That seems to work okay. But what I came up with that seems to work a lot better is, same way with rivets, is that I make my own little washers or spacers out of the leather that I'm using for the project. I always have some scraps or little pieces left over anyway. So what I do, for example, on this, looks like probably this circle punch right here, which is a 10, probably about right. So what I'll do is I'll take the scrap and do a half punch, turn that around, match them up, do another half on the opposite side. That's what it looks like. And I could just pop that out of there. And what I end up with is a little spacer, round spacer or washer, the size that's going to fit, in this case, size that's going to fit the snap that I'm using. So then all I have to do is take my punch, go right in the center of that spacer, punch my hole out, and I can put this on the bottom or the top. Doesn't seem to matter, but let's go ahead and let's put our leather onto our base, put that spacer in there. Now we can put our top piece on, and I've got a manageable height that I can work off of now, and that's going to give me a good hard seal on that snap so it's not going to pop off. So if that's not enough, I can do another one. Now, let's go, if I want to put 2 of them on there, or I could use a thicker piece of leather, whatever you want to do. Let's do a little larger, and that would be for the outside diameter, it looks like, for that snap. So let's do that. Let's come back around the other side. And they don't have to be perfect, you know what I mean? As long as they fit in there and nobody's going to see it. Put my hole in. Now I can put my snap down, put my larger spacer in there. Then I can put my smaller one on before I put the top piece on. Now look what it does. So I've got a lot better coverage. Whoop. If you don't knock your camera over and drop your snap. Alright, so I've got a lot better coverage. Now, the thing is, the reason it's going to be even better is I'm going to put the large one on there, put the leather on there that I'm using the snap on. Remember, I didn't even have that in there yet. Put my top one on. Now I can put the top of my snap on. Now I have some really good area. You notice I rotate my setter as I hit it so that I get a good round set on there. So there's my snap, definitely good and tight. You can't see the spacer that's underneath it because it's covered. And then on the back side, there's the back side. If you look really hard and you know it's there, you might be able to see that spacer in there. But if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't even see it because it's the same color as the leather. So let's go ahead and let's do the same thing with a rivet. Basically the same idea. Let's do this. You know what? I'm going to use the same white. I'm just going to cut that off. That sample there. So I've got the same thinner type leather. Let's put a hole for the rivet. And put the second hole for the rivet. Let's put that through both pieces. If I'm going to rivet that together like so, you can see how far that rivet sticks up. Again, I can buy shorter rivets, but I've found that I've been in the spot where I've had 2 different size rivets, maybe a 3/16 and a 5/16, and they're both too long. So same idea here. I could take a cap, lay it out, I'm going to use the smaller one, which is a 10. I'm going to use the scrap. Same idea, except this time when I make my spacer, I'm going to go ahead and make 2 of them. Now you could do that, or you could use a thicker leather. So we could make 2 of those, like so, and punch a hole in the center of those. And use 2 of them. And what I would do in this case is I'd go ahead and put my rivet through one end of my leather, put both of my spacers in, then put my second layer of leather on, then put my cap on. Then, if I use my setter, again, I do the same idea. When I use my setter, then I can squeeze that down onto my leather, and I get a nice tight fit. And you're not going to see, unless you know they're there and you pull that apart, you're never going to see those spacers in there. What that does is it gives me a nice tight fit on my rivet, and it doesn't want to make it roll over or lay over or flatten out sideways. It still gives me a nice tight fit. Now, again, if you'd want to, let's go ahead and take that one off. Set it aside. And if you wanted to, you could say, let's go ahead and pop a couple more rivet holes in there and grab us another rivet. You could say, okay, I don't want to put multiple spacers of that in there. If you have the same color, or really it doesn't even need to be the same color, but you have a different thickness that you want to use. This one's probably maybe 5 ounce, so it's a little heavier, maybe 6 ounce. Let's go ahead and do a circle of it, put the hole in it, now we have a much thicker spacer. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put it in between, just sandwich the spacer in between the leather that we're going to rivet. And as you can see, it doesn't stick out near as far. And yes, I know some of you are thinking I'm wasting hardware, but I don't like it, but I'm trying to make a point here, so bear with me. So again, there's a nice tight rivet closure or hardware, and unless you know that's there or you pull that apart to look in there, you're never going to notice it. So it's a nice, quick, easy, cheap way to not have tons of money in hardware, or like I've found, sometimes I can't find the exact hardware for the thickness that I'm looking for. So I resort to these spacers that I make out of scrap leather, and depending on what thickness I need, that's the thickness of the scrap that I pull out of my bin. And I keep all these smaller scraps like this for these purposes. Again, I just try to make sure that, like on this one, just try to make sure that you're hiding that if it's a different color. If it's the same color, nobody will ever notice it. But it works really good. I've never had any issues with them coming apart, and it keeps me from buying a ton of different sized hardware. All right, so I hope that helped you out. I know that it's become very useful for me to not have to fight those fasteners, and makes it quick, simple, easy. It's something I've got laying around in my scrap bin anyway. So hope this helps you out. Again, if you have any other suggestions, put it in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And I thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. If you haven't yet, hit that notification bell, and that'll give you notifications when a new video comes out. And so far, they've always been coming out on Thursday at 12:01 a.m. So I'll try to continue that, and we'll go from there. So as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.